Hello and welcome to the Two Robbies podcast, your destination for in-depth discussion and analysis of the Premier League. I'm Robbie Mustoe, he's Robbie Earle, and we're here to bring a special episode recapping the first half of the Premier League season. So we are going to quickly go through the major talking points of the season so far, and then we're going to reveal our underappreciated 11s for the first half of the 24-25 Premier League season, where I'm sure there's going to be a few candidates that will certainly stand out, my friend.
Absolutely. Special poddies. Always love a special poddy, my friend.
Yeah, a little bit different.
Halfway through the 24-25 season. Yeah, a little bit different. A little lighter look, a little in-depth look at some of those great big moments from the season. And then our underappreciated team of the season so far. I know we've got a few points of difference. So let's kick it off, mate. Let's get into it. You know, some of the biggest stories of the season. We're going to start with the team at the top of the table. Liverpool, as we turn into 2025. The introduction of Arne Slot, what he's done, what he's bought. I mean, I felt this could go one of two ways, Rob. It could have been a David Moyes going in after Fergie and not being sure, everything falling apart, or it could be very different, and it's certainly been the second, and it's certainly been very impressive, to the point where someone suggests that Arne Slot's taken it on another level.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly been. I mean, there's various stories this season. We're going to go through the main ones here now, but it's certainly been the most probably remarkable. I don't think there's anybody that do what we do that said that Liverpool were going to win the league title, and understandably, like we didn't know what impact he would have. We knew that this team was very, very good. We said that last year, where like, why is Jurgen Klopp walking away from this really talented young team for the most part with loads of great attackers? And he's taken it. I think he has taken it to a different level, Rob. A different style, a more manageable football. And it was kind of slower at the start. I feel like we're midway now that he's improved them. So the football is more controlled, but I think it's quicker. It's more attack based. I think there's more players in the box. I think they attack teams from different angles, from Trent's crosses from deeper, from Robertson getting to the byline, from Jones running into the box, or Szoboszlai running into the box, between Mo Salah, between Luis Diaz playing as a number 9 that nobody really saw before. So many things that's worked out brilliantly for him.
But his big thing, Rob, and especially early in the season, we're all looking and putting our X's nose and seeing what's different, how it looks. The big things that came across to me were composure and control. There was more control about them. So it's interesting that you're saying maybe because of that control, they can attack as fervently with intensity, but no, there's more of a security around it. So it isn't always going to end up with the opposition having a shot at goal, or Trent Alexander-Arnold running back to his goal at last-ditch attempt to catch people up. Yeah. We've seen so much less of that in the first half of the season.
Yeah. Another word I'd throw to that, Rob, is improvement. That's another key word for Arne Slot. So based on what you've just talked about, there's been improvement to every department of the team. I mean, last year, Rob, Liverpool, they conceded a lot of goals, and a lot was down their right-hand side, and the midfield was sluggish. And I mean, he's improved departments, he's improved certain players. We know that even from Konate. You can go through the whole team basically. Trent's playing in a different way, more of a rounded and a more rounded fullback. I think Gravenberch has been an outstanding player that's improved and filled a really important position. Cody Gakpo, Rob, is a regular scorer, confident player. I mean, you go through the team. I guess the only one, I think Darwin Núñez is the one that stands out that hasn't really done well, and he's not wasted time. Put him in the side when he's got Jota and he's got a few others that can do better work. So all the things you said about control, composure, the pace of the team, but improvement. That's been the half-term report, I guess, on Liverpool is like, wow. And they look right now, as we sit here, my friend, like they look kind of head and shoulders in terms of performance, in terms of the main front attacking threat that they've got, and general defensive solidity, everything. They've been superb up to this point.
Part of the genius for me, Rob, as well, is that he hasn't felt like he's had to sort of boldly put his personality on this club or on this players or on this way. He hasn't jarred himself.
He's done it subtly.
He's very subtly just gone about his business. And I think the subtlety's been the key. Looks like he's built up really good relationships with his players in the 6-month period. Mo Salah looks completely happy, a different player than he was under Jurgen Klopp. And but the one thing I would say, Rob, just in closing for me, is I still get the sense with this guy, you don't want to be on the wrong side of him. I think there's a steal in there as well. I think he gives it the cuddly guy and the jovial guy. I get the sense if you go on the wrong side of him, this is a guy who will let you know that and put you out if need be.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen a lot of it.
No.
I'm pretty sure it exists. I mean, you keep referencing the game one with Jared Quansah that was playing and he got ruthlessly hooked at halftime for not winning his duels and being more aggressive. So I think absolutely right, Rob. And I think Darwin Núñez is another ruthless. I need more than that. And I got Jota and I got Luis Diaz. Can he play as a striker? I have a look at it. Wow, he can. Like, you're in. Like, so it ticks every single box. And again, we're all waiting for a wrinkle. Or a sustained wrinkle to see how he reacts from that, whether he changes. But that's been the number one story, Rob, that we'll get to on our list. Now, the number two story closely followed behind, really. And
could have been the number one. It's the number two that could have been number one.
Yeah. It's Pep Guardiola's demise and the football team of Manchester City, and how, my goodness, they've fallen off a cliff in terms of their performance. And it is a timeline, Rob, and I'll give it again right now, how I've seen this City demise. It starts, of course, in the summer. Players are a little older. There's another season of incredible form and consistency. They're a little older. There's number one. Number two, the summer transfer window was a poor one for Manchester City. They sold players like Liam Delap and they sold Julian Alvarez. They brought in Savinho, a young winger, and Ilkay Gundogan. That's not a good window for Man City. So aging, not a good window. And then early in the season, you lose Rodri. We all know about Rodri's importance, the best player in the world, the Ballon d'Or winner. He went out. Then after that, you had defending players, Rob, that got injured as well. And then results started to suffer, and then confidence got affected. And that's where we are right now, with maybe the signs of a recovery from Man City in recent games. But that's my timeline. And it's a combination of all those why Man City have dropped from a team that looked incredible and unstoppable to one that, like, at times, like in their worst moments, looked like they didn't know how to play football and where the next win was going to come from.
And most of those things, I think, all stand up and are relative. The injuries, it's hard to say that, you know, the Rodri one obviously is the headline one. But
and they're small squad, Rob.
Small, but I'm going to go back to the small squad. Pep Guardiola likes to manage in a certain manner and not have too many players. And that's always been his call. And he's won in 4 out of the last 5, 6 out of the last 7. So it's what you know, it's what he's done. As you say, combination of, I think, aging group is something that needs to be addressed. A lot of 30s or 30-ish coming with a few key players in key areas. I think I just feel like with City, and I'm trying to move it forward, I think he's going to have to, with this group, come again. I think it's going to need a 4 or 5 player replacement and a whole new batch of energy to come again. Now, how long that takes, how long he'll be there to do it, who are the players that are in and out, we'll have to see over coming weeks. And it'll be interesting in January, wonder if anything's done at all in the January, Rob. It's a chance to get a few bodies in, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think there'll absolutely be. I see even already there's talk about new players coming in January, right at the beginning of January. Before we move on, Rob, we have got to talk about the manager. And, you know, we saw Jurgen Klopp last year basically say, I'm kind of done. I'm exhausted. I've been here a long period of time. The emotional stress of managing this club and chasing titles and winning things, he was done. And it kind of looked like, you know, I wonder, and I want to ask you, I'll throw it back to you. Like, I feel that Pep was there as well. But because the team wasn't playing well, and because maybe of the charges that are hanging over the club, he basically said, you know what? I'm going to stay. I don't all these questions about my contract. I owe this club. I can turn this around. I don't want to leave the team in this in a downward cycle, if you like. He signed on again. My question to you is, Rob, did he? Will he regret that? Does he regret it? Is he really?
I don't think so.
I feel like is he reached the end? Do you think he can go again?
I think he believes he can go again. Whether he can or not, I think it's about the man and the personality and what we see on a day-to-day basis. And we've seen behind the scenes in a few of the documentaries, he's all in, Rob. He's either all in or not. And I think he still believes like he can do it again, and he'll do it. He'll tell you when he's done. Not us saying, oh, because your team are bad, this is the time you're done. I think he'll want to leave a bit more like with a winning, having won a trophy or another Champions League or whatever it is. I think he'll now, whether he can do that, we'll have to wait and see. Whether he's going to be supported well enough, we'll have to wait and see. But I think this guy is I mean, he's got an incredible appetite for football and the way it works. Do I think personally it would have been the right decision? I think it would, but I don't think he does. And it doesn't matter what I and a million other people think.
Well, it does, Rob. It does matter. It does matter because if you and I are similar thinking, he looks like he's done.
Yeah.
And he says it doesn't matter, and he says, no, I'm not done.
Yeah.
Well,
but he's a guy in charge,
we might be
isn't
right. We might. I know he is, but we might be right.
Yeah,
he might not get him to turn it. He might turn him around. He might not do that. He might not be able to do it.
No, but if he believes he can, which I think he does, and I think that's why he's staying. And so, listen, it's going to be,
we'll see.
2025, the first half of 2025 is going to be really interesting to see where he can get City back to as is, and then where the new City goes and the energy. And we're also going to hear about the 115 cases by then. So
the next couple of months.
That's going to be another interesting kind of side story that's going to obviously go along with Manchester City.
Chelsea youngster Robbie Earle with Enzo Maresca, the new manager, is a story. And oh god, we could these topics, mate. We could do a podcast on every one of them. But I'm so fascinated by this Chelsea story because of the unprecedented recruitment of Chelsea Football Club, with spending a lot of money on so many young players, unproven in the Premier League, on these long contracts. A lot of people are like, wow, a lot of people are like, what are they doing? I was like, well, we haven't seen this before. This is kind of different. This is interesting. And they fire a manager that won the last 5 games in Pochettino, and brought in Maresca, who'd never coached in the Premier League before. No. He was a championship manager at Leicester City. And I don't think it could have gone a lot better. Well done, the club. Well done, those 2 sporting directors, Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart. Yeah. For what they've done, and it's come together lovely. And the manager's done really well, Rob. So they're a really good story of, wow, good recruitment, young players, a big, bright future for this club, I think.
Yeah, and how does it mature? How does this go together? What happens? They've almost got 2 sets of teams there. One that's played regular Premier League, one that's played in Europe to keep people fit and playing. The manager's done a brilliant job of managing those players and finding a way to keep Cole Palmer as productive as he has done. And there's lots of good things to look forward to. So, from Chelsea's point of view, just towards the end of the year, had a little sticky spell, which in some respect I'm thinking does you good. They've got to find the way out of that, Rob, and learn. And now in the next couple of seasons, this Chelsea group, I sense, are going to be going for titles. There's enough, maybe 1 or 2 more additions, 1 or 2 in and out. But this Chelsea team look like they're set for a few years. So, going to be fascinating watch. Always a fascinating watch is Mikel Arteta's Arsenal, Rob. He was 5 years in the job just before we turned the year. He's got an FA Cup, and he tells you a couple of Community Shields as he's silverware. I think many people thought this year might be their year, if not Man City. Liverpool have taken the spot at the moment and look in pretty good shape.
At the moment.
But Arsenal look like they're the main chaser and look like the most serious chaser, who look like they know what it's going to take and go that route. If they don't do it, Rob, and somebody asked me this, like, at 5.5 years in charge, we've seen progression, we've seen a culture change, we've seen a better stand now, I think, of football than we've seen. But does Mikel Arteta at some point have to get another piece of silverware?
I'm not one of those, Rob, that believes that. And I know it's about winning trophies, but that will come. It's a matter of, for me, it's about progression of the team, and they've been blooming, like took the Premier League to the final game last year. The final game, they were very, very close. They lost out on the last day. That's with a younger type of squad that's still progressing. And maybe in an ideal world, they should have won a couple more trophies, a couple more cups. We know how the Carling Cup, the Carabao Cup is, Rob, in terms of like mixing. So you can't really, they're all about the Champions League. They're all about progressing to win a Premier League title, which is all these teams in English football. That's the one they really want, isn't it? We know that the winning the title is the one that they really want, and they've got really, really close. And if it happens to be 5 years, and it happens to be another season where they don't do it, and they finish second, then for me, that's no reason to think that the manager should be under pressure. But that's just me. And maybe other people will say, this team is good, and fair play to him and Edu for putting this team together. Maybe somebody else could take them across the line. Well, careful with that. We've had other clubs that have hired coaches to take them at final piece, and it hasn't really happened. I really think he sometimes is a little bit infuriating the way he behaves a little bit on this. He winds me up a little bit sometimes with different things, but more importantly, he's done a great job.
Yeah.
For me, he's done a great job. The football's really good. It's been challenging this year, Rob, so far with, I don't know, they had a bad start with that discipline and those red cards and dropping points.
And things.
And they've had some injury problems, and because Saka being out now is a difficult moment.
Really think with Arsenal, Rob, as well, the next few transfer windows are going to be easy, because remember Edu's left now, who was a big part of things and helpful. And, where do they go? The signings, and you've talked about recruitment, is going to be key. If they are going to win a title, the next 2-3 windows are going to be really important.
Really, really important.
And who he leans on now, who's the brains trust behind that, I'm not so sure, and that's something I'm sure the club are working out. But it's going to be fascinating to see if they can take that last little step. And
in some ways, Rob, we're seeing a period now, and Saka's out right now in the middle of his injury. And we're seeing Jesus step up. Martinelli's playing better, scoring some goals. Havertz has got a decent number. If they can chip it together the next few weeks, because I still feel they're nowhere near their potential right now, and they'll never be until Saka's back. But when Saka, he's going to be like a couple of months. They're saying, a couple of months. Like if they can stay in it, if they can stay within 6 points of Liverpool, and by the way, that's assuming that Liverpool don't have a pretty bad patch. They absolutely might.
2-3.
And Saka comes back, and they. So I still think they're in it.
Let me chuck a cheeky one at you. I threw at Timbo today in the show. Let me chuck there's a certain guy at Manchester United with initials MW who's on. Let me go. He's on a certain big number of salary. Manchester United want him out and will pay half, even to 2/3 to get him out.
They won't do that. No.
Let's just say they do, and I'm trying to say, is there a situation where a player of that caliber, who's obviously been out of things, unfocused, and not been great, could he come in another fold for 6 months, ideally, and give you a lift in where Saka's out for thingy? Martinelli, we're not 100% sure. Gabriel's very hot and cold.
Ranieri's young kid.
He could play in any one of those positions. His experience, might he put the fire back in him and give him a chance? I'm just chucking out there as a option of a forward who would be available.
Well, the fantasy nature of it, I get it, Rob. And if you forget the money now, right? Let's forget money. Forget money. Marcus Rashford shows up at Arsenal. The footballer in January. Forget the money, and it's a short-term thing, and they haven't broke the bank to get in, which they probably will, but we'll get back to that. Maybe Rashford fired up and at his best is an absolute goal scorer. But then that short sort of fantasy world.
The reality, give it. What
but
the reality
I just think. Is that they're not going to let him go on a deal that really favours Arsenal to win a title. It's probably going to be a longer-term contract. It is going to be a lot of money, whether it won't be through transfer fee. I think that will be subsidised because you have to pay him a lot of wages. But are you going to start messing up the salary at that club and the young players that have progressed like Saka's and everybody else? And this Rashford's going to come in and be the top goals, the top money earner. I just think the realities of it makes it, and it's fun. It's fun to because if you forget the money and you think a new fired at Rashford, everything to prove, go to Arsenal, could be great. But I just think the financial restrictions...
I agree. I just think it's like one, like you say, a fantasy that, would Mikel Arteta think, you know what, I could fire him up again and get 6 months out.
He probably could. He could, but it's just longer term and the effect
the consequences
on the squad.
And he's worked hard on that dressing room, hasn't he, to keep a certain way.
And this is all assuming, Rob, that he is going to do it and he's going to consistently do it because that's been his biggest problem. So that's a typical Robbie Earle flipping
Sorry, Marcus, I'm trying for you, my friend. I'm trying to get you. Let's talk quickly, mate. Let's go Manchester United because we, as you say, at some point we may have to have a single Manchester United pod in where they are. But obviously the Eric Ten Hag thing has been brushed to one side. The new brush is Ruben Amorim coming in, Portuguese coach, set way of playing, set style, very confident, very good communicator. looks the part, Rob, and I think hasn't done too much too bad, although up to this point, performance has not been great. A little bit of criticism coming his way. Just feel at the moment, Rob, he's got a terrible group of players, and the club's not in great shape. Some of the noises that come out of the club, the PR, that they're not supporting these charities and that, and the ceiling coming in,
former
and
players,
the
Sir Alex
infestation. And so,
I know. It goes on.
It feels like he's a young manager, Rob. This job has got bigger, and it's the biggest job in English football anyway.
You know what's funny about football, Robbie? You go through all those negatives, right? We all know that the one thing makes those go away in a second, and that's winning
football
games. If they got,
winning football matches.
I mean, we saw it at Chelsea with the ownership and the drama and the photographs and the stories, and then all of a sudden they start winning, and it all goes away. But winning's proven very difficult, Rob. I mean, it's quite the story. It's quite the experiment, really, that he's gone in there and he's put a structure in there that he really likes. And it's very awkward for a lot of the team. We got to be honest, but he ain't changing. And I don't mind that he doesn't change. It's just going to take a long time to get the players that he needs. He needs specific wing backs, Rob, on both sides. He hasn't got them. He just hasn't got wing backs. You know, he's got some of the other pieces that look like they could work. This is going to be a long, slow burner. He talks about the storm. We're in the middle of the storm right now, no question. Middle of the storm. They look awful. The recruitment of pass is coming back to bite him on the backside as we thought it would, and there's no protective tactics. It's like, let's go and play. Let's be expansive. Let's play, and let's take the consequences with when it doesn't go well. We're going to get spanked, and they've been smashed a few times now, and it's just opened his eyes, Rob. He's answered questions. He's good enough. He's not good enough. He's too old. He can't do it anymore. He might have a chance. He can play wing back. He can't. That's what we need. So there's an experimental period that we've talked about many times, Rob. It's just. Now let's have some continuity. Let's have kind of the better options that you've learned over the first few weeks, and let's start trying to put a familiar team on the park, and then maybe the results will improve on the back of that when people are fit, not suspended. Bruno Fernandes, that was an awful recent situation where he got 2 yellow cards and got sent off, which is not helping his team or his club. But it's this is as bad, Rob. I think, you know, and like it seems to get worse each year. We keep saying, well, this is the worst we've seen. And like the next season, they're even worse.
The group, Rob, it almost feels like there's lots of jack of all trades type players, but you ain't got specialists in the key areas with their system needs. And if you ain't got the specialists, then it starts to look pretty bad. So again, going to be interesting, new all over the PSR and what that might look. Trying to get players out, trying to bring players in.
It's be difficult.
It ain't going to be easy, is it? So we could be talking 2 or 3 windows before we really get a sense of an Amorim team and what that might look like and how they might play. Just finally, the story of the season, mate, is Nottingham Forest and Nuno, and I'm going to straight away get my hand up there and put it out there that I was the foolish man who said, oh, they might have a struggle staying in the league this year. This could be the year that caught up with them, blah. And I couldn't be any more wrong. I couldn't apologise more to Forest fans and Nuno in what he's done, how he's done it, with the group of players he's done. And I think we've spoke about this over a few weeks. Part of it is the simplicity of it, Rob, that's really impressive. He's not trying to complicate it. I look at that and think I could play in that system because I know what my role would be. And I think there's a group of players who do that. And he's turned some journeymen, some players who weren't first choices at clubs they've come from, into proper top-level players who've, half the season, Rob, have been incredible. If I had to pick one story, I would say Nottingham Forest in the top of
it's not just about the team, and it's not just about the manager. It's about the club, and it's about Marinakis, the owner, and the troubles they had last year. On the back of last year, and all the players that came in, and obviously by bringing all those players in
last year as well.
They had a points deduction because they broke the rules. But they survived the deduction. They took it on the chin. They complained about refereeing all season. It seemed like that was hilarious. But anyway. But the most important thing is, of all those players that came in, they found a team, Rob, and they found some good players. They found Murillo, the Brazilian, and Nicolas Milenkovic, the centre-back that played alongside him, and Alex Moreno, and Nico Williams, who can play on both sides. They got steady eddies in midfield. They got pacing wide players. So throughout the process of the last year or so, when they brought in a zillion players, like a few others, like Chelsea a little bit, you shake it down, or here we go, we got enough. It's almost like a numbers game, Rob. I think there's always a feeling when you sign players that there's a percentage of, is it going to work, is it not going to work? Well, if we sign enough of them, then enough of them will work that we'll actually have a decent team.
Yeah.
And by the way, you weren't the only one, Rob. I mean, like Nottingham Forest they were in the relegation picture. They were in the thought of all pundits on the back of last year, the promoted teams, that they're going to be in and around it. I just didn't go from the bottom 3. You did. Yeah. I had them. I would have had them in the bottom 6 or 7 of the league. But the fact, when the team comes together and you see Milinkovic particularly, like if you get 2 good central defenders in your Premier League football team, mate, you're going to be good.
And a half-decent goalkeeper behind them, by the way. You're in decent shape.
I say that, and do you know what comes to mind? Everton. They got 2 decent centre backs and a good goalkeeper, and they're not doing very well. So just ignore that. And we'll cut that bit out. But do you know what I mean? 2 centre backs is a good foundation.
Well, to be fair, you say that about Everton. Haven't got a decent defensive record. His defensive record has kept him going. It's the other end of the pitch.
It has kept him going
in some respects. But it's a good shout. But Nottingham Forest is one of the stories. I mean, it'd be incredible, Rob, just to see him back in European football. Listen, I don't think it's going to be too much. Is there a European spot beyond the
It's emotional, mate. I mean, I'm not even I got a bit of a goosebumps there when you said that, Nottingham Forest in Europe, because of what they've done in the past. It's astonishing that they were the champions of Europe back to back, wasn't it, back then? So for them, but anyway, we're halfway through. But what a story and what a manager. He's a really good manager.
In itself, Rob, you're saying we're halfway through. It's not like we're 5-6 games, in the league looks a bit thingy. We're 19 games in.
Yeah, I know. There's something about it. Yeah. There's something about them.
Yeah. Well played. Okay, my friend, we're going to get to the
let's get to it.
Bit that we put a bit of work in. Our underappreciated 11s of the season. Now, this is based on underappreciated being someone who's not got the headlines or maybe not gets enough credit, as they say. There's slightly different criteria that we both look at it. Should we start with...
We do it every week, don't we?
Yeah, we do it every week, and we thought we'd put an 11 together with a manager who we think's the most underappreciated manager in the Premier League so far. Should
we start off with each department of the team, Rob, and we both give it, start with goalkeepers, then we go with defenders.
Okay.
And we'll go with both of our picks.
Yeah, give us a little...
So start with goalkeeper and your pick for underappreciated goalkeeper of the season so far.
Kevin Kelleher, Liverpool Football Club, who came into the football club, Rob, didn't miss a beat. I think he made one error at Newcastle that maybe cost them, but apart from that, and the thing for him, for me, Rob, and obviously we've got to get through this, is he's a number 1, masking as a number 2 for Liverpool. Yeah. Somebody go and buy him, 26 years of age, and who my somebody is. Chelsea Football Club, go and buy Kevin Kelleher to fit in with that your young group, and you're set for the next 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, of course I considered him. I've gone for somebody different, but because I feel like this recent run in the team, Kevin Kelleher has actually proved he's really, really good. So I think he's a little less underappreciated, but I totally get it. And it's a great pick. I actually struggle with goalkeepers a little bit, Rob. I went down the stats a little bit, and I sort of went down the league table. And this is a guy that he's a bit crazy, but I think he's a really good goalkeeper that makes very few mistakes in a team that's not great, and he makes a lot of clean sheets. And his defensive record and goals against is very good. I've gone for Jordan Pickford. And people might say, well, that's a bit odd. Like, he's an England goalkeeper, so he's somewhat appreciated. But I still think in the Premier League list of goalkeepers, I think he's a really good one, Rob. I think he's one of the best in the league. And I don't think that's something that gets chucked on Pickford, because he can be a little bit annoying to some people. He's he's a bit crazy, and he's got unusual kind of tendencies.
And he's a quirky
I just think he's a little underappreciated of a really good goalie.
Yeah, he's an England goalie. He's not a team that's particularly done well recently, so maybe doesn't get some of the headlines.
His numbers are good, mate. I think he's like top 3 for the Golden Glove thing right now.
Clean sheets to the point.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our defence. I've gone a back 4. I've got Malo Gusto, right back, Murillo, Milinkovic, so I've got a double Nottingham Forest centre-back partnership, and Anthony Robinson, who's been outstanding, probably the most underappreciated player, would probably get in the team of the season so far, if there was one. I love the two Forest guys. I think, Rob, that for a total of something like £25 million,
was it
$35 million for the both of them. Malo Gusto, I just think, Rob, at the start of the season, when you got Reece James and Cucurella and Chilwell, I thought, he's going to be a bit part player. Not at all. He's been an important player, and the role, that extra role he gets when he's in midfield, causing problems. So that was my back four.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be some kind of. We're going to overlap a little bit here. I only went for back three because I was so excited with some of the midfield players and attacking players. But I too have Anthony Robinson, and I think of all the. I don't think we're going to do an outstanding underappreciated for the season, but I think. Right, for both me and you, Anthony Robinson would be right up there. You know, he's one of them players, Rob, over the last season or so, you look at him and think, wow, he's really quick. And you think, well, he's at Fulham and they don't get great results. But the more you see him, and his assists, he's got an amazing number of assists so far this season. He's very quick, that left foot. I know he can play in field for the US national team, but I love him as an overlapping fullback. He's absolutely in there. I have got Milinkovic as well at Nottingham Forest. And I've got Murillo. No, sorry. I haven't got I'm reading your list here. I got Murillo. And the other one I've got, by the way, and I think this is a good shout, Milos Kerkez. Bournemouth, left back, Hungarian, 21 years of age, is an excellent, everybody remember the name, Kerkez, is an excellent left fullback. And there's various clubs out there, Liverpool, maybe Arsenal, but Liverpool, I think, could use a left back. Milos Kerkez is ready to go. He's ready to go. He's had good manager at Bournemouth. He's strong, he's confident, he can play, he can defend. I think that he is going to be an outstanding left back in this league. Milos Kerkez.
He's got the Mustoe verification. Is that a blue tick, a red tick? What?
Yeah, I'm with his agent, mate. If I'm a director of football, I'm with his agent.
Let's go to your midfield players. I've gone for a 4-2-3-1. I've gone Ryan Gravenberch for obvious reasons. If we started the season, like you said to me, he was going to be one of the most important players. He was going to play every game. He would be the main holding midfield player. I would not have had it. And Moises Caicedo, my friend, who gets ridiculed because he paid, I think they paid $146 million for it. It was a big fee. It was a British record fee. But as the team's matured, he's come onto a game. I think he has a good relationship with Lavia and Enzo Fernandez when he's played. He just looks to me, Rob, like he's growing into his body and his understanding of the game. There's many good years ahead of him. So my two defensive midfield players were Ryan Gravenberch and Moises Caicedo.
Don't mind them. I think mine are better.
Of course,
I think mine are more.
You do. Why would you not?
Mine are more underappreciated. My midfield, I got four of them. Morgan Rogers. I mean, breakout season. Amazingly. Really underappreciated. I think people are because of us, Rob. We talk about him a lot. I think people are generally talking about him, but as a midfield player that came from my old team, Middlesbrough, for not much money, really, he's going to be a top midfield player in this Premier League. And he's got to get involved with the England national team a little bit more than he has been. He's been in the squad once, I think.
He's been in the squad,
So Morgan Rogers is in. My next player, Dejan Kulusevski. What a good player he is. And I know he's one of Spurs' better players. But again, this is my sense of underappreciated as a Premier League footballer. I think he's right up there with some of the best midfield number eights, if you like, attacking, defending, creative, can score goals. I think Kulusevski is better than what most people think. Number three in my four, Curtis Jones. I think that and I know it's at Liverpool and people know about him, but again, I'm saying he's even better than people think he is. And I think that's going to come out for the rest of this season. The intelligent runs that he makes, he's getting more goal involvements, getting in the box. He's intelligent. He pops up. He's got a brilliant engine. Curtis Jones, I think, is underappreciated. And my fourth player, love him as well, is Morgan Gibbs-White. Now, again, some people on listening to this or watching it will know Forest and will know the Premier League really well. And they will say, he is really good. But he is really good. And I think some of these players, Rob, I think that we're talking about here are going to be targets of teams in the top four and the biggest clubs in the league. That's why we do this. We're trying to sort of throw people forward. And some of them are, obviously some of them are big clubs. Caicedo's there. He doesn't qualify for that. But Morgan Gibbs-White, Curtis Jones, Kulusevski and Morgan Rogers, and I tend to go on the younger players mostly as well, I think is an excellent midfield and a midfield that every one of those players could and maybe will at some point play in Champions League football. That's how good I think those guys are.
Yeah, good shout. Can't argue with any of that. Obviously, you're working for them, agents for them as well. It must be on a side deal. So I've gone them for three attacking midfield players under my striker. Antoine Semenyo at Bournemouth is a player, mate, who produces goals and assists, is a huge threat, is a player who might next step up. Matheus Cunha for Wolverhampton Wanderers is a talent. I remember seeing him, Rob, when I think we were at Old Trafford, start of last season. And he was making these amazing runs, and I went, wow, like him.
Fit.
Gets better and better, gets goals, fit. I know he's got a little ban coming up, some improper behaviour on the side of the pitch, but top talent. Alex Iwobi, my friend, is one of those that I think this kind of award in this team fits
it's a good shout. Yeah.
Alex Iwobi would get in nobody's team. Nobody would talk about Fulham. Alex Iwobi's been at Arsenal. He's been at Everton. He's now at Fulham. Continues to give good numbers. Continues to be important to the team. And is a kind of player that's never going to win awards. It's rarely gets player of the match for when Fulham play. Yeah. But just one of those, Rob, whose numbers, who's a good pro, who's had a good career.
He's had a couple of knockbacks, Rob, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he's had one of those, a couple of knockbacks.
Could go the other way, and he's continuing to make sure that he's come out on top. So Alex Iwobi. And then just at the top of the pitch, because I've got one striker, I've gone for Chris Wood, my friend.
Chris Wood, that's a good shout. Yeah, I know.
Where to go?
What more can he do?
What more can he do? I mean, Chris Wood makes the best of everything he's got, Rob. Makes the absolute best of everything he's got. Doesn't go wandering in the wide areas too much. His team know him. He knows himself. He's got 11 Premier League goals the halfway stage this season. Couldn't love him more for giving everything he's got. And listen, we talk about the Rashfords and people of the world who've got 10 times more skill. But this guy's dedication and focus to his craft of being a centre forward sets him apart.
No, I love it, mate. And seeing the team, it's great. And I love doing this. Just picking out players that are overachieving, or maybe the expectations are lower and they've had great seasons. They're raw. Some of these are up-and-coming young players like the Malo Gusto in that lineup, and Gravenberch's expectation. Robinson's kind of journeyman. Is he journeyman or is he actually really good? Well, he's actually really good. Murillo is a brilliant signing from Brazil. There's a lot. I love it.
And just to the right, my friend, you'll see I've got Nuno Espirito Santo as my manager of this. My underappreciated manager with what he's done. Nuno.
Yeah.
I'm not worthy, my friend. I am not worthy.
Yeah. No, that's obviously, when you look at the league table, absolutely right. Talk about underappreciated. Yeah, it's a good team. It's a great manager. I got a couple of changes there. Again, there's a little overlap. I do have Matheus Cunha in my finishing team. I've gone for a couple of other players in my attack. So I've got 3 players as a front line, if you like. I've got Matheus Cunha. Yeah. I have Yohan Wissa, a player that we see him. I pop him up there on the right-hand side there. Yohan Wissa at Brentford. We had Ivan Toney. We got Brian Mbeumo. They're the really appreciated players for the most part. Yohan Wissa's not so much. And I just love watching him play. He never disappoints, works his socks off, scores goals, important goals, assists, always there, seems always fit and available. So I really like him in this team. And my centre forward there is Nicholas Jackson. Now, underappreciated by most of the football world in terms of punditry and analysts, myself included, Rob. So when you first started seeing him in the Chelsea first team, it was like, it's not got a great touch. And he makes some bad, and the chances that he misses. But he's done well, and I report this at not a great time for Chelsea, and they've gone off a little bit the last few games up to this halfway point where we're doing this. But he was going to make my team because of what he did earlier on. His numbers are pretty good. He's still very young. He's very raw. You just watch the way that he starts to press for Chelsea. He's got great energy, always runs in behind, very much old school like that. He's very much like a Vardy type, just wants to run in behind. His finishing has got better. So underappreciated, and I think expectations were pretty low after the first few games. I think he's done really well. So that's the way that my front line shapes up. And on the manager side of it, you know what? I could have said Nuno. I wanted to try something a little different. And I've gone with Andoni Iraola at Bournemouth, Rob. Mainly because I look at this Bournemouth team and it's like, there's no star players. There's no really outstanding. Yod Semenyo in your team, which is probably the best player. Evan Nilsson, the striker's looking better and better. But it's not a team of really good players, and yet he's got them very high in the Premier League table right now. When
you say that, Rob, they're effective. Tavernier and Kluivert.
But you could still have But it wouldn't be a surprise to you, Rob, if that Bournemouth squad and that team, when there's somebody different, was struggling around the bottom of the table.
14th,
Tavernier,
15th.
all right, Cook in midfield. It just seems like a decent to lower half set of players. And he's got them fired up. They play a really great brand of football, I believe. So Earle, I think, is going places, Rob. And again, I try and include people that I think is going to move on. And I don't want him to move on. I apologise to Bournemouth fans, but I think he's doing great things with an average squad of players. He gets my underappreciated manager.
Absolutely. Great stuff, mate. Listen, we're going to have to end it there for our special poddy that wrapped up 2024. Some great memories, some great big stories, and we'll see how they all play out. Now, underappreciated team of the season so far. Always great fun for us to do. Keep an eye out for our next podcast. That's going to be Match Week 21. That's around January the 15th. But for now, I'm Earle. He's Mustoe, together with the two Robbies. Thanks for watching and listening. Be safe, stay healthy. It's a good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Good night.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host of NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And if you want even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock.